Hi there, this is Lieutenant Bogue of 5 Platoon Scots Guards in Lanark, and today we're going to be covering a lesson in the Fieldcraft syllabus which is called Judging Distance by a Unit of Measure. Now, the way I like to do this is to jump forward a couple of lessons and pick up a thing called pacing. This will become obvious as we go through the lesson. It allows us to cover it in a bit more detail. Pacing is basically a means by which we can judge on the move how far we are going or we have gone by counting the number of paces that we have taken. Now, obviously, every one of us is different sizes, different strides, different pace, etc. So therefore, the number of paces that we have or we use to get from one area to another will differ. So the way that we can work this out is to use a very, very simple method, and this is what we're going to do today. So, down here is we've marked out a 5 metre area, starting here, where Corporal Bogue of 1 Platoon Royal Scots Borders in Straven is. We've measured from this line here, all the way up to this line where the white stone is. Okay, so that's exactly 5 metres. Now, when we use pacing, what we do is we step forward on our left foot and we count how many times our left foot strikes the ground, just like Corporal Bogue is about to do now. Okay, so stand by, carry on.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So, exactly 4 steps to cover 5 metres. Okay, so we also have assisting us today, soon to be Cadet Bogue of 1 Platoon Royal Scots Borders, and she's going to do exactly the same thing, but obviously not being as tall as her brother, and we're going to see the difference in the number of steps that it takes. Okay, stand by, carry on.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So it's taken her 5 steps to cover the same distance. Okay, now why is that important? Okay, what we then do is take that number. So it's taken us, for Corporal Bogue's example, it's taken him 4 strides to cover that 5 metre. So in order to work out how many strides it will take him to cover 100 metres, we simply multiply that number by 20. Okay, so 4 times 20 is 80. So the Corporal Bogue knows that if he counts his paces, when he has done 80 paces, he will have done 100 metres. In the case of Cadet Bogue, it took her 5 steps. So therefore, we multiply that number again by 20, and that gives us 100 paces. So she knows that 100 paces, she'll have covered 100 metres. Okay? So I want you to do the same. I want you to mark out an area in the garden or in the house that's exactly 5 metres, and then I want you to walk normally, starting off on your left foot and counting every single time your left foot touches the ground. That'll give you a number, and then I want you to take that number and multiply it by 20. So you know that over normal ground it will take you a set number of paces to cover 100 metres. Okay? Good. Okay, so now we'll move into the actual practical part of the lesson, which is actually giving you an example of how you would see and judge distance in the field. Okay, so why is this important? Well, this is one of the skills that you're going to learn now in your Fieldcraft set syllabus, which you're going to apply later on in your more advanced lessons, but it's learning these skills now and becoming natural parts of things that you do is really, really important, because as you go along, these are things that you should be able to do almost without thinking about. So the way that we normally judge distance, if you think about an area, and I'm going to have to apologise, there's some idiot on a motorcycle at the back is, okay? So if you look at this area here, you see it's quite featureless, okay? There's not an awful lot of things in this area to judge. But what most people will do is use something they're familiar with as a means of breaking up the ground into parcels of measured distance. Now for me, what I think of is a football park, okay? And I think of a football park which is 100 metres as a way of judging distance. So from me to that yellow bush in the distance there, I would say is roughly between 80 to 100 metres. The one that the Ned on the motorcycle is just going over. Okay, so to demonstrate that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Corporal Bogue to walk forward 80 steps, which is his 100 metre measure, and see where he gets to. Okay? Stand by, carry on.
1, 2,
Alright guys. So that's him stopped there. Okay, so that is 100 metres. So my own assessment of that was probably just about bang on. Now the reason that I've taught you pacing is that, as I've found increasingly, cadets nowadays are not really into football or that kind of sport, so thinking of a football park is not a really brilliant way to offer a measure. So what I think I would like you to do is to come to a place like this, okay, hopefully without Ned's bonking past you and riding motorcycles, and walk out your 100 metres. Okay, so measure your number of strides over a 5 metre measure, and then measure it out yourself, and you'll be able to then get something you can use in your mind, a reference point in your mind that shows you what 100 metres looks like. Okay, so to give you another bit of a reference, I'm now going to ask Corporal Bogue to walk back in to 50 metres, just to show you what that 50 metres looks like. And you can use any kind of reference. You know, if you are a football fan, use a football park. If you're a runner or into athletics, you could use a 100 metre sprint. Just get that in your mind, practice it a few times, measure it out for yourself so that you know that you're using it appropriately, and therefore you'll get practiced and well used to actually doing it and using that unit of measure as a means of judging distance. And again, it's one of these things that as you go up through your cadet career, then you will be able to use that naturally into your advantage. So there he stopped, okay, so that's 50 metres, and you can see that it is, you know, it looks logically halfway between those two reference points, the point at which I'm standing and that yellow gorse bush in the distance. Okay, so get out there, measure your 5 metres, your number of strides in your 5 metres, get out into an area like this. Obviously remember your rules and lockdown, don't be going too far, this is just over the back from where we live, so it's perfectly reasonable for us to be here. And that's how you use a unit of measure to judge distances. As I say, this is when you get up through your cadet career and you start doing things like fire control orders, duties of a sentry, range cards, things like that. This is when you're going to have to be able to use this method and use it well and use it accurately. Okay, thanks very much indeed.